What if I told you that your 20s, statistically speaking, have more of an impact on the outcome of your life than any other decade? Yet, the majority of people, including myself, spend their 20s or even the beginning of their 20s messing around, like keeping it lighthearted and living life. Well, looking back at what I've achieved over the past few years and what I started my 20s doing, I decided to give you and write down 10 lessons that you can implement in your 20s or even your 30s or 40s if you're at that stage in order to actually achieve success, what you define as success, as quickly as possible. Number one is going to be to focus on skills, not money. I was always going to be a lawyer. That was what my family wanted me to be. That was what I was programmed from literally a child to become. And the only reason I was going to become a lawyer was because of the money it made. And that was driving me to learn a skill set, such as learning how to read legal textbooks and arguing in a courtroom, that I probably would not be able to use in any other area of my life. And luckily, after I took the law school admission test and I actually scored in one of the top percentiles in the nation, I decided not to do that and I instead pivoted to learning how to run ads online and becoming a marketer and becoming an online business person. Even in the first 1 year of that business, I made $3,000 total revenue. But what I learned was incredibly valuable skills that now allows my company to generate 8 figures every single year. So the first lesson is to make sure that you're focusing on developing skills, even if they don't pay the bills right now, in order to focus on being able to have an income that is substantial later on. Number two is going to actually play off number one, and that is finding the right vehicle. So let's say that I learned how to run ads and I became one of the best marketers in the world. And then I went and I only ran ads and did marketing for the person that sells flowers on the corner of my street. Well, no matter how much marketing and how great I was at my job, they would only make a certain amount of money because they only service people that are trying to buy flowers in this local area, and the margins on that are not that high. If I take the same amount of time and energy, same amount of effort, and I go and I find a company where it is the right vehicle, meaning they could scale, they don't higher profit margins, they're willing to invest, they have a global reach, then I could be earning that company multiple amounts more, and thus my value to them would be higher and I would be paid higher. So remember that it doesn't always have to do with the skills that you learn, but it is the skills coupled with the right vehicle that could have all the difference in your life. The third thing is to focus on escape velocity. Now, I have another YouTube video that goes in depth on this, but essentially the idea behind escape velocity is don't focus on making a small amount of money and putting in the S&P 500 and over 40 years you'll have $30 million. That's not the idea, because the problem with that is every single year your expenses creep up, inflation creeps up, and so you're not ever actually being able to escape from the day-to-day expenses that you have, like taxes or inflation or, you know, any kind of personal or business expenses. In escape velocity, what you do is you focus incredibly hard for 1 to 3 years to build a large enough amount of wealth that then you could put that aside and you've escaped from the day-to-day grind. So it could be $3 million, $5 million, $7 million. I see people doing it all the time. If you are able to invest instead of the S&P 500 into yourself, into coaching programs, masterminds, developing your skill set, getting around the right people, and do that for 1 to 3 years and don't invest it anywhere else, you'll earn so much more money from that by focusing on doing that early than waiting to have that compound over 30 to 40 years. The next lesson is to put your mask on first before helping others. Unfortunately, when you first come into maybe making a little bit of money and you develop the skill set and you focus on the right vehicle and you achieve escape velocity, for the first few 1 to 3 years, you're going to have a lot of people coming in asking you for help, and they're going to be what is known as an energy drain. There's a little people here want some of your money, a little people here want some of your time, and it may be disguised as the people that you're closest to. Well, if you keep on just giving them whatever they want all of the time, then you're unable to help yourself, and thus you're unable to help them in a better position later on. A great example of this is there are family members that I literally didn't speak to for years while I was in that escape velocity phase. When they asked me for money, when they asked me for time, I just focused on helping myself first. And then later on, when I was actually able to have enough of that escape velocity, enough capital saved up, enough of my time, I can now turn back around and help those that are less fortunate or that helped me get to the top. So remember to focus on actually literally helping yourself first, building who you need to be and building the capital that you need to, instead of trying to slowly having hundreds of holes in your boat as you're trying to row it. My fifth lesson is to spend money on a great environment. There have been numerous studies and scientific data that shows you that what your direct environment is has an impact on your output. So if you're in an environment where it's cold, it's dark, you have no windows, there's no expansive views, you know, it's dirty, it's ugly, you're not going to be very motivated in order to do the output that you need in order to achieve escape velocity, so especially if you're around the wrong people as well. So what you can do is start spending money to get in the right environment. Spend money on getting into a nice place, spend money on getting the right equipment, spend money on getting around the right people. That will have such a higher impact on the ROI of anything that you're doing than anything else you can think of. The only trick of it is that it's not direct and measurable, meaning that it's hard for me to be able to say that because I moved to this beautiful condo in Miami, my productivity and profits doubled. But I can feel myself being happier. I can feel myself wanting to work more because I'm in an area and I've created an environment that is conducive to work. My sixth lesson is to take massive risks. When you're in your 20s or maybe even your early 30s, you have the benefit of having time on your side. And so most people, once again, are trying to just save a little bit of money and not drink their Starbucks, and they put that dollar into their bank account or into the S&P 500, when in reality, this is where you need to be putting the pedal to the metal. This is where you need to be achieving escape velocity. And there's no way you'll be able to accumulate millions of dollars in a few short years if you are playing it safe. It'll be almost impossible. So you need to take massive risks, because let's say you go all in. Let's say somehow you take a $100,000 loan out against yourself. You go all in, you try something for 5 years when you were 20 years old. So now you're 25 years old. You have a $100,000 debt. Well, over the rest of your lifetime, if you just switched and start playing it safe, you'd be able to eventually pay it off. It's not like your whole life is ruined, where if you did something like that when you're in your 40s or your 50s, you have kids, you know, you have a husband, you have a wife, you have a mortgage, it's going to be much more difficult to do. So you can essentially recover from a big mistake early enough in your life that if you wait too late in your life, you'd never be able to recover. So nothing great ever comes from playing it safe. Majority of amazing things, especially the escape velocity, will come from taking massive risks, investing into cryptocurrency, investing into yourself, investing into your business. And by taking those massive risks, even if you fail, you'll typically take away lessons that you can implement for the next time you are presented with a similar opportunity. My seventh lesson is to be aware of your subconscious mind. This is something that I've even only started learning in the past year myself, but the idea behind it is that 90% of your day-to-day thoughts are the exact same as the day before. And so if you are struggling to see change and reach a new level in your life, it probably has something to do with the fact that every single day, 90% of everything you think and do is the exact same as the day before. And so what you need to do is you need to bring consciousness to your subconscious mind. The majority of your habits, your daily actions, come from your subconscious mind. And it is only through bringing light to your subconscious mind that you'll be able to start changing those habits. You can literally morph reality in front of you by being aware of your subconscious mind. And for many of you, this might seem woo-woo and fairy tale, and I didn't even start looking into this until the past year. But there's some really great resources out there where you can start to identify what are some of the things that my subconscious mind is telling me, and how is that impacting my day-to-day life and the results that I'm getting in my life. And then you can reprogram your subconscious mind in order to achieve everything you've ever wanted to achieve. And a great example of this is in the movie Matrix. This may seem silly to a lot of people here, but in the movie Matrix, people are literally being programmed to essentially be flesh-eating batteries, is really what they are, for these huge monsters. But what they do is they plug in programming into human beings in order for them to see the life that they want to live. They're addicted to their phones, they get short-term gratification, they get those dopamine hits, and that keeps them happy and just going day to day to day, living long enough for these machines to pretty much live and take over their lives. And so what you need to be aware of, that is what majority of people, society, is doing to you. It is keeping you fueled on a day-to-day plan, when in reality what you need to do is take a very hard look at your subconscious mind and figure out what it is the things that you want to do, and then alter your subconscious mind to match those actions. My 8th lesson is to always take a macro view. It is very easy for us to get caught up in day-to-day activities and day-to-day problems and think that our life is over. I still remember when I was 20 years old, I went back home for vacation during college, and I was drinking a beer on the beach, and a cop pulled up and actually gave me a written ticket, a minor in possession of alcohol at the time, and I was still trying to be a lawyer. I remember going home and literally thinking that my entire life was over. I thought that I could never get into law schools. I would never amount to anything. Anytime I ever applied for anything, they'd always pull up this minor in possession of alcohol, and they'd never give me anything that I wanted. And it's so funny now, looking back, 8 years later, and realizing how minor of a blimp that is on my life. But in the moment, it seemed like my entire world was over. I remember calling my mom, calling my dad. I was so ashamed in myself. And what we need to always remember is that there's these micro day-to-day activities or actions that can consume our entire mind, when in reality, what is a 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 year lifespan, whatever happens one day, 1 week, 1 month, or even 1 year will not change the entire direction of your life. And this is also great for investing. When you see a market go up, down, left, right, when you have your business maybe down for 1 week, maybe it's down for 1 month, it's very easy for us to get consumed by that and think that it's all over. Think that everybody thinks that it's all over. But in reality, the person that sees massive success in their life, they're the people that are looking on a long enough time horizon. So I'm not worried what happens today, what happens this week, what happens this month, what happens this year. And instead, I'm looking at what is going to happen in 5, 10, 20, or even 30 years. My 9th lesson is specifically for business owners or professionals, but you need to build an A team. What do I mean by that? I mean that both in your company and outside of your company, as far as advisors, you need to make sure you have an A team around you. Nothing great is built by yourself. And this is something that I even struggled to realize for the first 1 or 2 years inside my business. And it wasn't until I was able to attract really high quality people to come inside my company that I started seeing growth in leaps and bounds inside my personal and my professional life. And this also goes as far as advisors that I have as well. If you're trying to get to the next level, but you're still paying your financial advisor, your CPA, $2,000 a year, I can tell you that they're not going to be the right person that tells you how to invest or how to save money on taxes in order to get that escape velocity. I actually pay my family office $5,000 to $7,000 every single month, but they give me advice that is worth that in multiples. I pay lawyers every single month. And so you might not be in the right stage where you can pay financial advisors or a family office or even team members a lot of money, but understand that when the opportunity does present itself, typically that is the thing keeping you from getting to the next level. And my final lesson, and arguably the most important, is to delay gratification, but not forever. I actually struggled with this for the first few years of my business because everyone kept on saying delay gratification, hustle, grind, put in 18, 20-hour days. And there's no doubt that a lot of the success that I've had has come from that. I know that I've been able to build this amount of wealth this early on and achieve escape velocity because I did put my head down for years to come. But I've gone through multiple experiences in the past few years, like my dad getting stage 4 lung cancer, losing a few of my closest friends to freak accidents, random head-on collisions, that it actually made me reframe the way that I saw this delayed gratification. So I would say that I still do delay a lot of the gratification in my life, but I don't want to keep on putting it off until one day something terrible happens and then I'm never able to actually enjoy it. So I always say, and I speak at my events, I talk about this, but I say life is about planning like you're going to live forever, but living like you're going to die tomorrow. So make sure that even in all the things that I gave you here and learning the skill sets, learning the vehicles, that you take time every single day to be grateful for what you have and to make experiences that'll count and that'll last, because those are really the things that give us the fuel to keep on going and start delaying gratification once again.